Hello, welcome to Carrow Road, where Norwich City are 2 games unbeaten in the Premier League, following up last weekend's 2-0 win at Everton with a very deserved 2-2 draw here with Arsenal this afternoon. Deserved but dramatic. It was a really entertaining game, to be perfectly honest. I really enjoyed it. There was a fair bit of VAR controversy, unfortunately, and it went against Norwich, but we'll come on to that. Overall, it's positives really. Southampton had beaten Watford on Saturday to move back above the Canaries, and although they remain there ahead of Wednesday's game at St Mary's, where Norwich win, then they will almost certainly move to within touching distance of those teams just above the bottom 3. But that has had consequences, that game. Watford have removed Quique Sanchez-Flores. I think it's only 12 games he's actually been there because they had already got rid of Javi Gracia early in the season. And apparently it's going to be Chris Hughton, formerly of this parish of course, who is going to be the man to take over at Vicarage Road. So that's one that we'll have to keep a close eye on. But it keeps things quite tight down the bottom. A point against Arsenal. Well, I certainly had said ahead of this game that a point, even though Arsenal were in a difficult spell, they had sacked Unai Emery themselves on Friday. They lost 2-1 to Frankfurt in the Europa League on Thursday at home, and that was 7 games without a win in all competitions and their worst run of form since 1992. So I suppose technically that's extended, or longest run without a win anyway. But I think both teams probably just about leave here reasonably happy with the point in the end, because they both gave as good as they got. They both had a few mistakes in the mix. Both had a bit of quality as well, and in the end a 2-2 draw is probably fair, and I think most people went home pretty happy. The sort of reaction at half-time and full-time was certainly one of full appreciation for the efforts of Daniel Farke's team, who have just suggested that there's a potential for a bit of consistency and solidarity there. So lots of positives to build on from here. As I say, a dramatic game. 10th minute, it needed an Onel Hernandez goal line clearance after Shotdan Mustafi had beaten Tim Krul in the air to a corner. Nodded goalwards, and Onel was in the right place to head away. But then Timo Pukki brought an end to that 8-game drought that it was for his club. Not overall, because he's been, of course, doing very well for Finland, guaranteeing their place at Euro 2020. And it's actually 14 goals in 20 games for club and country overall this season. So we just spoke to him, and he admitted it was a big relief for him to be back. And he highlighted, that he's been getting chances again, so he probably wasn't too happy with how things had dried up on that front for him up to that point. But 7th Premier League goal of the season, and I said to him, you'd have taken that at the start of the season, wouldn't you? 14 goals in 20 games for a club and country, 7 in the Premier League. Of course he would, and of course every Norwich fan would as well. So that keeps him going. If he can get over double figures, of course that's going to reflect a very good season, but you'd still like to think that it's possible that he can get up to 15, and if Norwich continue to play this way, then that's quite possible. His goal did come from Onel Hernandez. Great bit of work in the left back position, gets Kenny McLean in midfield, and he did exactly what Norwich fans have been wanting to see again, getting the ball quickly to Pukki in the channels. This time Pukki is able to sort of turn away from Mustafi, and then oddly David Luiz and Mustafi both back off Pukki and allow him to run at them. So he unleashes a shot from just inside the area, and it deflects off Mustafi's thigh sort of, and ends up in the bottom left corner. Bernd Leno is wrong-footed, and that's 1-0 to Norwich, and this place is bouncing, of course. But then the drama unfolds. 5 minutes later, 27 minutes into the game, Christoph Zimmermann is sort of grappling with Matteo Guendouzi as Mesut Ozil puts the ball into the box, and his arm ends up above his head, does make contact with the ball, and I guess that unusual position means that you can't quibble too much over the actual awarding of the penalty. But then it's over to Tim Krul. Can he be the man again? Can he be the hero of the hour, as he was twice against Manchester United? Although that was in a defeat, he made those 2 penalty saves, and I think if he'd have made a third in a row, it would have been a Premier League record. But I guess this save doesn't actually count, because he guessed right. He dived to his right, prevent Aubameyang from scoring, and the celebrations kick off. Krul is the hero, but then that big screen in front of the hotel at Carrow Road informs us all that there's a VAR check going on. And when you see the replay, it's very quick that you can see Max Aarons, Ibrahim Amadou, Sam Byram and Hernandez, I think it is, they're all encroaching, and particularly Aarons is the player that then clears the ball. So we think that has then had a bearing in the save being ruled out and Arsenal getting a second chance. Aubameyang takes it. This time he guesses, or Krul guesses the wrong way, and they equalise in the 29th minute. So, of course, the home crowd feeling hard done by at that point, because although Arsenal were dominating possession and had a few chances here and there, Norwich were really giving it a good go. Really, again, that sort of defensive intensity was there. They knew that they had to battle for every single ball. Campbell, Hernandez, McLean, I thought all of them were really, really good. Pukki looked much more involved. Ibrahim Amadou had a bit of a shaky start, but then he actually grew into the game a lot, and I did him for our player watch, so do go and find that at pinken.com. He ended up having a big influence, as I'll come into in just a minute. But Norwich went into the break with a 2-1 lead, and it was Todd Cantwell, his 4th Premier League goal of the season. Not bad at all. He took on Wes Hoolahan's number 14 number ahead of the season and said he wanted to do it justice, and he wanted to strive to sort of fill that shirt, and he's certainly doing that. I don't think Wes scored 4 goals in the Premier League in one season, and Todd's done it in 14 games, and this was an absolutely cracking finish as well. And again, Kenny McLean pivotal to it. A lovely bit of work, again, in sort of the left-back position, outside of the boot pass, down the line to Onel Hernandez, who then pushes forward, cuts back, and just as you think, he's wasted the chance, picks at Cantwell, and Cantwell just a deft little flick to open up the shooting opportunity and curled the ball round Bernd Leno into the bottom right corner in front of the Barclay. That's 2-1 just before half-time. The whistle goes shortly after that, and this place, a rousing reception for the team to send them into the dressing room, because that was a real effort. They'd shown a real clinical edge again on the counter-attack, which is something that we haven't seen enough of recently. But early in the second half, Christoph Zimmermann survived a handball. It hit his hand, but the difference between this has come from the left. Mesut Ozil put in a low cross, and Zimmermann's hand was just sort of dragging behind him, and there was contact with the ball, but as opposed to the one that was given against him, in terms of the silhouette of the body, as they like to talk about in these handball decisions, his hand wasn't in an unnatural position. So there wasn't even a VAR check, which I thought was strange. I thought there would be a VAR check on it at least, but the Arsenal players were furious about that. But shortly after Arsenal equalised 2-2, corner comes in from Norwich's right. Tom Trybull sort of can't quite get his head on the ball and flicks on. Byram and Mustafi both go for the ball, and the ball then breaks kindly for Aubameyang, and he can just lash it past Krul from close range, and he's not going to miss chances like that. Of course, absolutely top striker, worth a lot of money, and that's 2-2. And although that deflates the atmosphere a bit, of course, Norwich are still well on for a great result, and they didn't. Daniel Farke didn't park the bus or anything. He didn't bring on an extra defender so that he could go 3 at the back. He continued to chase the game. In fact, Emi Buendia came on for Cantwell in the last 10 minutes or so. So they kept going at it, and they did have one chance in particular, Kenny McLean, and as I say, Amadou had grown into the game. Bit into a tackle on Xhaka, had sort of tracked him into the Arsenal half. Ball gets the ball to Pukki, who just nudges it on to Kenny McLean, clean through. Just got to beat Leno, and he connects well with a shot. He's going for the bottom right corner across the keeper, but the German guesses right. It's almost like a penalty save at that point, to be perfectly honest. Tips it onto the post, and that was a massive chance gone by in the 59th minute. And soon after that, 63 minutes, Norwich really had the bit between their teeth at this point. Cantwell, again, it had come from Amadou being involved in midfield. Cantwell played a lovely ball into the right channel. Pukki, again, exactly where he wants to be, in behind the defence, turns his man. He's got Leno to beat and just doesn't quite connects sweetly with his shot, and Leno can make the save with his feet. From then it was all a bit scrappy. Both teams got a bit desperate. There were chances here and there, but the biggest moment of the closing stages was an absolutely heroic block from Amadou, who just grew into this game more and more, and it looked like Lucas Torreira, who'd come off the bench for Arsenal, was going to snatch it in the 4th minute of injury time in front of the Barclay. Everybody held their breath, thumped a low shot, and there was Amadou to block with his legs, a really powerful shot as well. and that was cheered like a goal. It was a huge moment, and I guess we may well have seen the start of a midfield career for him today, as long as he doesn't have to step back and cover in defence anymore, because after a slightly sloppy start, his passing maybe wasn't up to Premier League standards in the first 20-25 minutes. He then really got into his flow, and there were a few occasions in the second half where he was just in the right place at the right time. One that springs to mind, Ben Godfrey had charged forward trying to be adventurous and trying to get involved in an attack, lost the ball, and again it's one of those hold your breath moments, but Amadou was in exactly the right place and snuffed out the danger straight away. So Arsenal had 60% of possession. There were a lot of chances. Norwich had 15 shots, Arsenal 16. 8 of Norwich's were on target, 7 for Arsenal, and Norwich had 7 corners, Arsenal 12. So that shows you that this is an action-packed game, and everyone really got value for money from this one. And I think, as I say, both teams will take the result overall. Norwich definitely have something to build on. For Arsenal, it kind of steadies the ship because they didn't lose, and they can look at how they push forward from here. But for Norwich, it's just a case of taking this to Southampton. Their confidence is really up. You would imagine that Amadou will keep that place, or that Alex Tati, he missed this game for family reasons today, for personal reasons, so of course we don't know exactly what that is. That's sort of his business. You would have thought he will come back into contention for the squad on Wednesday, but it's going to be difficult to drop Amadou in terms of how influential he was, although there was some fairly awful attempts at shooting at times, which maybe he's got in common with Alex. Maybe it's a sort of 1 in 50 attempt when you're going to get a sort of brilliant goal, as has been the case with Alex Teti over the years. But he certainly looked like he could be the man to finally succeed, Alex. So that's a big thing from the club's point of view, and something to watch. Otherwise, as I say, McLean, another very good performance in that more attacking role. Pookie back to goal scoring ways. Krul obviously hard done by that his penalty save went to waste today. Zimmerman maybe a little bit rusty at times, but really committed again, really important role, and again Ben Godfrey looked more settled, and they both got through plenty of good defensive work. Max Aarons and Sam Byram had decent games. Byram may find that Jamal Lewis comes sort of back into contention for Wednesday night, but I would be surprised if Daniel Farke changed his team. Not a winning team, but you know, it sort of feels like a win holding Arsenal to a draw, because any points against one of the traditional big six has got to come as a big bonus. So we'll wrap it there. Head over to pinkin.com for all the analysis and reaction. I'm actually off this week, so I'm missing the Southampton game. It's my other half's 30th birthday. Very selfish of her. So we've got other plans, and I suppose I have to have a week off at some point. So Connor and Paddy will be your men down on the south coast, and I will be back here with you at Carrow Road next Sunday for Sheffield United game. 2 tantalising games. If Norwich can get even just a win from those 2 games, I think they'll be well on course. Feel that things are progressing in the right direction recently. To win both would be a big ask, but they're definitely capable of it. If they got 4 points from it, then I think they could be more than happy. So it's going to be an interesting week. Lots of positives to talk about, which is a good thing. So let's see what happens in game 15 and 16 of the Premier League season. Thanks for watching.